Turn that on.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce, and today we're doing another indie horror spotlight. Today, I have with us a director. He actually put out a new short movie. It's in post production right now. It's called "You Should Smile More." I have with us K.L. Martin. KL, welcome to the Horror Room, brother.
How are you, Howard? Thanks for having me. I really appreciate the time.
Good, man. It's a pleasure having you on. So, tell everybody a little bit about "You Should Smile More."
So the short version of this, I mean, I think it would only be really good if I talk about the backstory of it. So the story so I got married last year or the year before last. So I've been married a year and a half. My wife is probably one of the more straightforward people that I know, and she has what people would consider the RBF or resting bitch face, so to speak. She's very stern. Like if you don't know her, you would know any better. And what happened was we were at a bar, our local bar at the time in Jersey called the Chubby Pickle, and she was sitting on the other side of the bar. And this older gentleman came up to her, and she's like minding her business. She's talking to one of her friends on the side of the bar, and he came up to her and literally said, because she was sitting by herself, she's like, you'd have a lot more people around you if you smiled more. And the rage that, like, she kept it cool. You would have never known, but I know her, so I've seen her eyes. Like, if she could shoot lasers out of her eyes, this man, and she kind of gave him this real shit-eating grin, like, you could tell she's like, I really wish I could punch you. But the rage, and then I thought about it, and I grew up in a household full of women. I've had a lot of my friends and cousins and sisters, and they've all had that said to them. And the thought process, probably that night, said, what would happen if every woman who's ever heard that could actually react viscerally? And that's how we came to the short. Basically, it's about a young man who gives an antiquated piece of advice to a woman about smiling more, and it turns into a night that he'll never forget. And it came to me very, very easily. It actually turned into a feature. The actual short was supposed to be kind of a proof of concept to get to the feature. We ended up getting the money for the funding for the feature without it, but I was like, I'm a really big see it through type of person. So I was like, I really want to visually show what I was doing. So we really kind of came to, I moved from Jersey back to Las Vegas. I'm from Jersey, but I lived in Las Vegas prior. And we tried it in Jersey, really couldn't get it together, and got back to Vegas in June, and pre-production started in August, and we finished it January 8th. So it was really, really good. It was a lot of fun to do.
Wow, man. So what got you into making horror movies?
So to go back a little bit, I've been screenwriting for a long time. I was told many years ago in college that my mentor, told me I should definitely be screenwriting for them. But I was playing basketball, which turned into professional basketball. So I played in Europe. I had some NBA Summer League. I was gone for about 12 or 13 years, and I was writing in between, really punching up scripts and doing a lot of rewrites for people, and I had my own stuff. But it wasn't until I wrote a script I had trouble writing horror for a while. All of my horror would turn into dark comedy. So it would start off as supposed to be scary, but my brain was not getting there. And then I've been a big horror fan. I was obsessed with Jason, Friday the 13th, the slasher in general. Nothing beyond the masked killer, the slasher. I've always been really, really kind of big on that specific part of the genre because horror has got a million subgenres, and it took me years. It took me a long time to finally get to the point where I was like, okay, I think I got this. But I've probably watched Friday the 13th, the good ones, the bad ones. We talked about Halloween. Some of my favorite recent ones, like Happy Death Day, Eli Roth's new Thanksgiving. That I was waiting for that. I was really excited for. But yeah, that opened up for all horror, but my love is always the good slasher. And I got it right a couple of years ago, and then I slowly realized, I said, let me take my time trying to, instead of trying to force it, because all the scripts I've sold and rewritten have been like comedies, dark comedies, like Coen Brother, Tarantino type stuff. And I knew it was in there, and I finally got it. And but I've been in love with horror for probably my whole life. Things that are scary make me laugh, especially like the 80s, like the things that are the 80s stuff, like the old Freddy Krueger stuff, where you didn't realize as a kid. It was.
I grew up in the 80s, and I love the 80s slasher. I think it was.
Oh man, there's nothing like it, and you could pick those up and put them as is now, and they would probably do better. I always had an affinity for it, but horror's been a part of my life. I was just very happy. I would say about 6 years ago, I was like, okay, I got this. Like, I understand this. Jordan Peele made me understand that even more, and I was really like, okay, now I get where I'm going, why it always turns into comedy and stuff like that. But it worked. It's worked out, and I've loved it ever since.
So when it comes to writing, do you have any rituals? Like, do you instantly come up with an idea or a concept, and then you go somewhere and you put on some music and you zone out, and it takes you hide for a couple of weeks? Or is it something that you piece together over time?
It's funny. I actually write better in chaos. The pickle, the plate in the bar that I mentioned, the chubby pickle, I probably say if I took 100% of the scripts I've written between the time I was 33, 34, and now, I've sold, I'd say about 6 or 7. And they've been in this loud, obnoxiously loud bar. I like writing in noise. I like being observant while being distracted. Quiet. If it's too quiet, like I could write on a city bench in New York City, like I could write like that. If it's too quiet, drives me nuts. I need to be able to just kind of exist in the world I'm in, but also be forgotten about because I'm writing, so I can just kind of zone those things out. But I'm there. I'm a part of the reality that I'm in. As crazy as that might sound to some people, but I like the noise. And my rituals are usually the same. The funny thing is, like when I first met my wife, I was in the middle of writing a script, and one of my big rituals, I'm a big index card guy, in terms of like laying out the story, putting it together. And my wife, after like a weekend, she comes over and she walks into my room, and my walls are covered in index cards. I forgot that I did this, and I'm like, this woman's gonna think I'm a serial killer. Like Post-it notes, index cards, a whiteboard full of notes, and sometimes it comes to me very fast. Like most of the time, any idea comes to me very fast. The development might take time, but once I get to the point where I'm developing, it's over. Like it goes. The main ritual I get questioned about a lot is I don't type out my drafts. I write my drafts. So like if I pull this aside, like right now I carry I'm always at least carrying one Moleskine notebook. I'm always writing it. I will handwrite an entire script in that, but I'll fill it up end to end. And I felt like that always works for me. That kind of was a game changer ritual-wise, because the idea is I would say, man, this sucks. I would scratch it out. But then by the time I get to the end, I would turn around and go, wait a minute, that idea was good. I didn't delete it. I just circled it or scratched it out. And that I was writing drafts within the draft. So by the time I get to final draft, I probably only had to redo it maybe one other time. So that was a ritual that I've always, so the index cards and the handwriting the scripts, those have been my main rituals of no matter what. Every time I've tried to type it in, it just doesn't sound the same, doesn't sound the same. The mistakes that I make aren't as useful. And then the ones I delete, I can never see again.
That's amazing that you're able to work around chaos and noise. Like I'm the complete opposite. I'm probably like most people. I need quiet space to focus. I need silence. I can't have any distraction. I'm easily distracted.
Okay.
It's amazing that you can, like, if I was trying to do anything, any kind of serious work at a bar, oh my goodness, because I like to people watch, and I'm pretty sure you sound like you like to people watch it. I would just be sitting there people watching the whole entire time, and I wouldn't get a damn thing done.
I think what I mean, after playing, so I played basketball for so long, and I'm 6'11", so I'm a big guy. So I'm used to being stared at and kind of living in this bubble of everyone's kind of figure out what kind of person I am. I'm giant, this giant guy, and I get asked these questions: how tall you are? Did you play sports? And as you get older, for me, I learned, okay, instead of there's no middle when you're a giant. You either hate it or you love it. So you want to run away from it or you embrace it. So my way of doing it was like, well, I'm not going to be, I get very little alone time in that regard. So it's like, okay, then let me make my alone time within this. And people, like, you should see my friends. Like, I have some of the best friends in the world. I don't have a ton of them. The people that I call special, but they know, like, I can leave this podcast right now and walk up the street to our bar here in Vegas, and I'll sit out there. The bartender knows. I'll put my book down. They'll talk to me. I'll be making the conversation. They'll put my drink down. My wife will sit there, and they all know that. And it's a great dichotomy on the regard of, they know that I need the noise. I need to know that there's something going on around me, but I'm also closed off. And they know when I don't look up, let them be. And that helps. That support is really, really cool.
That's amazing. Now, as a Black horror filmmaker, or filmmaker in general, how hard is it to pigeonhole yourself or get labeled as a Black horror filmmaker like a Jordan Peele?
It's rough. It's because I've lived all over the place. I consider myself very eclectic, and then the moment I make something, I'm automatically given that label. And while I understand where that comes from, it's difficult because, hell, they're hashtags like Black horror film. I'm like, bro, I just write. Like, I just write. Like, I had a whole conversation with somebody probably like 3 days ago. I write a specific way. There's a lot of Coen brothers. There's a lot of Tarantino. There's a lot of Paul Thomas Anderson stuff. But there's also a lot of Jordan Peele, who has that eclecticism himself. And, he writes for everything and everybody and what's around him. And I think I do the same, or at least I'm told that. But automatically, I'm just kind of labeled into that. And it's a little frustrating sometimes. I'll admit that. Like, I'm just like, I just write. I appreciate what you want to do with that, but I just write. I write what I feel is cool to me. Then I go up a level to the people who are around me, who are, white, Black, green, alien, and they, you like this? Okay, cool. And I move that up to the next level. But yeah, it's a thing that happens. I'm really, as if you get to the point of getting to know me a little bit more, I'm very blunt. As my grandmother would say, I'm too tall to be shy and not say what I want to say. Which, when I was younger, I didn't understand it, but now I do. But yeah, so I'm like, you don't have to slap that on me. Like, I'm a filmmaker. I'm a horror filmmaker, and I just happen to be a Black guy who does it. And some people don't take that very well, which is confusing to me. But it is what it is at that point. I just kind of do what I do.
Because a lot of Black horror filmmakers, they definitely embrace that title, and they only make Black horror,
yes,
for Black individuals. And that's what you see a lot of on Tubi. You see a lot of Black filmmakers who make Black movies for Black people. And that's great. By the way, that's great. But at the same time, if that's all you do, that's what you're known for, which means you are segregating a huge audience, because I don't know of that many other races of people who watch solely Black movies.
Exactly. And one of the things, it's funny, when I look at those, it's weird, like all this is like a culmination of the conversations I've had over the last 2 weeks, because of, like, my producers. Like, I have a team of producers. These guys have been my friends for a long time. But they so happen to be with one Asian person and a couple of white guys. I've known them my entire life. they support the hell out of me. I write where everything is for everybody. So like I might have a Black character here, an Asian character here. And I remember a couple of years ago, I was asked to kind of hop on a script that was not really me. I've done stand-up comedy, so I always say this. I'm what you call Cosby Black in regards to those things. I always tell people that. And they came to me about the script that I had. I mean, I don't know anything about. I was hood adjacent for a while, and then that was it. And I was like, I can't write that because it's false. It's not who I am. But I also don't write for just Black people. I want to appeal to everybody. Because honestly, if we're being, from a capitalist perspective, you really want to appeal to everybody because that's who's coming to see you. And then once you kind of actors do it, directors do it, writers do it, producers do it. Once you put yourself into that bubble and that's where you want to be, there's a wall, there's a limit. And then you fight to break out of it to show you can do beyond that. And I think that's why I've always, not even on by choice, I've always walked that line. I appeal to a lot of people regardless of what they do. I mean, I've written foreign languages, shorts and features. I've lived in Germany. I've lived in South Korea. I've lived in Kenya. So I always look at the world as that multicolored, like, hey, this is for people, no matter what they are and what color they are, to like, laugh, be scared of, make fun of. I think that's a better way of going about it. I mean, again, not to knock that, especially the Tubi stuff. Listen, I've been in conversations with people. They're upset because now I forgot who bought Tubi, but they're so now they're holding a standard of production. Tubi used to just anything. Now there's a standard of production. So now everyone's like, oh, they're messing up the sound. I'm like, but why is that bad? Like we don't want.
Because I would say, as a Black person, 90% of those Black Tubi movies are absolutely offensive to me.
Oh,
they're 100% offensive. And I'm in these Black Tubi movie groups where there's a lot of Black people in there, and they love they'll say, well, you gotta watch this, or you gotta watch Please, you gotta watch all these movies. And you watch this shit, you're like, whoa, like this fucking sets Black people back like fucking 40 years. Like, why the fuck are y'all into this?
One probably once or twice a month. I'm like, let me just try to look at one of these movies, and I'll look at a Facebook group and be like, oh, this is great, and it's a Tubi Facebook group, and I'm like, you guys don't understand. This is what people think of us anyway. So why are we playing into this? And that's one of my main things. My main thing is I've gotten to the point where it matters now. When I was younger, I could say it and it didn't really mean anything. But now that I've gotten consistent work and people seeking me out, I'm not big on writing things that portray Black folks in stereotypical lights. It's just not something I like doing. And I'm not going to give that like we can do rom-coms, we can do horror. We don't have to be the first person to die in a horror movie. We can, you know what I mean? Like we can do those things. But like you watch these Tubi shows, and I'm like, man, you guys have to understand, this is not the flex you think it is. This is bad.
I've never said this on my channel ever. I hated The Blackening.
Oh my God.
Hated that fucking movie. I've had white filmmakers come in and say, oh, I love The Blackening. And I'm like this. And I guess they assume that I love that movie. Yep. I fucking hate that fucking movie.
I will tell you this.
The most offensive fucking shit I've ever seen in my life.
This is what gave me hope. This happened 2 weeks ago. I was getting a haircut, and I was in the barbershop. So I left Vegas, came back 8 years later. Barbershop's still there. Remember my name, all this other stuff. So I'm back. We're talking. They know I do, I used to play basketball. They know I'm a screenwriter to do movies. And he goes, you know what, Kev? You know what movie I really hate? I hated The Blackening. And the entire barbershop went off on it. Like what the, this is one of the old guys in the back's like, that's the most offensive shit I've ever seen. I'm like, man, that guy was born in the 60s and that's the most offensive thing he's ever seen. Like, they were like, it was trash. And like, yeah, now they're going to make a sequel because they think that's what appeals to us.
A lot of black people love that movie, and a lot of white people love that movie too. And I'm like, I found it so offensive. I mean, and a black man directed that movie. Listen, I'm not gonna badmouth him or anything, but I was like,
you want to be supportive, but also I'm like, bro,
I didn't know, but I'm telling you, I did not know a black man directed a movie. Watching the movie, I was like, oh.
That's why I gave you. Like, I was like, I'm going to sit through this movie, and then I got to about 30 minutes, and I was like, nah, I can't do this, bro.
I was like, somebody else who was not black directed this movie. Please tell me, please. And I saw Tim Story fucking directed. I was like, oh God, no.
I was making this face throughout the first certain like this, like I was like cringing, like, ooh, no, I can't do
oh
it.
my God, I was like, is this what? I was like, who the fuck finds this funny? Like, it wasn't funny. It wasn't scary. It wasn't.
Some marketing guy, some executive was like, this is how we're going to appeal. And then I'm like, all right, we got standards. There's no way this is going to stretch out and be good. And suddenly they're going to make a sequel.
Oh, and it got a great score on Rotten Tomatoes. The critics love that movie. And I'm like, nuts. I'm like, holy. And that's the only reason I gave that movie a shot. It looked bad. The trailer looked funny. I was like,
yeah, the trailer looked funny.
Bad. It looked funny. And then I watched that movie and I saw, oh my goodness. And I'm like, this is, listen, okay. I'm not saying that the stuff in that movie is not true about black people in some ways, right?
Yes.
But why would you have to put a movie about that and make it a fucking joke? Like that we know that black women make more than black men.
Yes, we are aware.
We know that black women support black men.
Yeah.
We know that black women protect black men. They are the strong ones in the relationships.
Mm-hmm.
We know that, oh my goodness.
Like it
was just one thing after another. I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, oh my God. And she's a lawyer and she's dating this fucking bum who's a personal trainer who cheated her in the past. I was like, oh my goodness, this is something that happens in the black society every single day. Why are we making light of this? It's funny.
I'm like, why are we giving so much ammunition to this? This is nuts.
And I'm like, why is every black man in this movie a pussy and black women are sitting there? I'm being serious. Every black man is a pussy and every black woman is sitting fighting and protecting these black women. Like, what? How is this funny?
I will tell you right now, if someone asked me if Story was sitting right in front of me, and I'd be like, I'm just gonna be like, I'm glad you got the opportunity to make a film, but I'm gonna leave it at that. I'm just like, I got nothing. I'm like, you know what? You got your money and you made your film, and man.
And when I hear somebody from another race say that they love the black them like this,
yeah. Oh, that was a great movie. I'm like, bro, you gotta stop. Like I had a friend say that to me. I'm like, nope. He's like, I forgot who I was talking to. I said, bro, don't say that to me. You're a reason. I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
It was so offensive. It was so. I just felt so offended watching that movie.
So offensive.
Mm-hmm. Good. Okay, listen, I feel good getting that out.
Yeah,
I was holding that, and I did not want to. I didn't want to offend a black filmmaker, a horror filmmaker.
No,
oh my God!
Nailed it on the head. Nailed it on the head. I'm just glad I can say that because there were people. If I said that around some individuals, they'd be really upset with me. I'm like, I'm sorry, bro. I can't.
Oh my goodness!
Can't do it. It's just like
it's offensive. It's literally every black stereotype,
and that's what I hate. We can do so much. We can do so much more. We can do so much more. There are whole movies that show we can do more, and that's what you presented with a big budget. Meanwhile, I would love to sit in a Q&A and have that whole. I would, without it getting argumentative or combative, just be able to sit back and talk to him and be like, all right, so I get it. You get your money. That's how you get ahead. Fine, no problem. But man, there's no way you can look back at this and go.
But the opening premise of the movie is something that black people don't even do. Is they were celebrating Juneteenth.
And I was like,
black people don't do that. Like, that's why I'm telling you, that's why I thought in my mind, I was like, okay, there's no way a black person made this movie. This had to be somebody from another race who made it.
A large swath of people probably saw that and go, nah.
I think that black people have a big party on Juneteenth.
Yeah, but
black people do not do that.
They think there's a cookout happening on Juneteenth. 100%. Now it's gonna go. Aren't you gonna like? I'm waiting for this Juneteenth to come and someone to say, what do you guys do? What are you doing for Juneteenth? Gonna have a cookout? I'm like, where the hell? The black. That's where you got it from. So I was your friends.
I didn't do shit on the Juneteenth. I just sat around and just fucking like whatever.
I don't even remember what I did, but it wasn't a celebration for me.
All right, man. So listen, this is a horror channel, as you know. So I'm gonna ask you 3 random horror questions. You ready, Kel?
Yep.
All right. First one, man. All right. So a big production company comes to you right now, and they say, "We want you to reboot an iconic horror movie that's never been rebooted before." Ooh. Which one is going to be?
Reboot an iconic horror movie that's currently not been rebooted. So, well, I mean, technically, they haven't rebooted this, but I'm going to say the first Friday the 13th. They just continued it, but they haven't really rebooted. They're going to.
That was a reboot. I mean, the last one was definitely a reboot.
Let me think. They haven't rebooted yet. You know, honestly, I know what you did last summer. I think I
actually. Okay, I'll give you that one because they're about to reboot that one. But I'll give you that one though.
Yeah, and then the only other one that would jump out of my head that in my head that I would like to see what Final Destination looks like now in this world.
They're actually bringing a new one out, but it's not a reboot. I think it's a sequel.
It's a sequel. Yeah, I would love to see what that would look like with the prevalence of the internet. That would be. I feel like there have been enough internet-based horror movies that have touched on what that could be. But I think those would be my 2 for sure.
I'm gonna do a follow-up question for the second question. Which one would you? Which one would you touch? You'd be like this. This been rebooted too much, or this is.
I would say if I had to do it, if I had to stop them, I'm like, hey, don't do this. We talked about it earlier. They should have either Halloween or the Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
I agree with you with both of those.
Every attempt they have made starts off like this could be cool, and then all of a sudden it's just like, why did you? I get money, but my God, leave these things alone. Halloween and Texas Chainsaw Massacre should have been left alone.
I agree. I do not want to see another Halloween movie, and I'm a Halloween fan.
I don't care.
Want to see another Halloween movie in my lifetime.
If I could have,
another 40 years left.
Yeah,
I don't want to see it.
I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear Michael Myers' name. I don't even want to see a fan film. Just stop.
Nothing. Michael Myers is dead.
Yeah,
and Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that should have been dead years ago. Like
they could have stopped at which one was that? The one with Jessica Biel on it. So they could have stopped at that one.
That was a good reboot.
Yeah,
and just been done.
And then done. But then they made the one on Netflix, and then it was just
that was bad.
That was bad. I was like, come on, guys, this is not even a good money grab. It's on streaming, so you're hoping people are watching this for the sake of the name, and if it doesn't, then it was a waste of money, and you ruined the franchises even further. So those would be my 2 for sure.
And I felt bad because I actually met the actor who played Leatherface in that Netflix one.
Oh, really? Wow.
I met him at a convention, and I was talking to him, and I said, "Hey," I said, I didn't want to say that the movie, I hated the movie, but I said, "Hey, you were a really good Leatherface in that movie," which he was. He was a great Leatherface.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "You were a great Leatherface in that movie." He said, and I said, "Are they making a part 2?" He goes, "I don't think so. I don't think that I like that movie."
That would have been news to me.
He's like, "I hope so. But I don't think anybody liked that movie."
That's what I'm saying. Most people would be like, "Oh yeah, I hope so." He's like, I don't see that happening. I'm not really sure why."
And that must be awful too. That must be awful to be in a movie.
To be in a movie and know
deep down inside that people did not like the movie that you were.
Yeah. But that's up there only because the first one was so good, and then they finally caught something a little bit with the Jessica Biel one, and then I was like, okay.
Jessica Biel one was great.
And then all of a sudden they were like, let's do this again. Why? Let's go out of canon and then make something even worse. Why? So but we know why. I get it. It's a money thing. It's you know, the color at a certain level. The only thing that matters up color wise or anything is money, and the franchise name will bring that. That's why you see franchises go on forever, and then when they're like, oh, you know, we got to do this again. I'm like, bro, that movie came out 5 years ago. How are we rebooting it? Like, you know what I mean? But it's a common thing.
And that movie had my least favorite black character in any horror movie. Oh, the black guy in that Texas. He got on my fucking nerve. I couldn't wait for it. And I never ever cheered for the black guy dying. But in this one, I was like, kill this motherfucker. Shit,
get
him. My fucking nerves.
Just get him, bro. Like, I'm done with this shit.
He's starting shit about this Confederate flag hanging up, this and that. Motherfucker, go die. Like,
this is the least of your concerns right now. Just run. Nope.
He started everything. He really did. He started the whole fucking shit.
He set the whole thing in motion, honestly, yeah.
He got all those people killed because of his stupid ass fault. Anyway, but all right, third question and last question. Let me think of one, man. All right. Who is your favorite final guy? That's the guy who makes it to the end.
Oh man. See, because we were talking about, you know what? Because, and I'll say this jokingly, because he changed the trajectory of all black characters surviving through horror movies. Busta Rhymes. Busta Rhymes survived to the very end and fought Michael Myers and won
with Kung Fu.
Yeah, like he won, and I'm like, you know what? Because it's Busta Rhymes, you wouldn't have expected him to last that long, even though he was the name in the whole movie. But the whole, like, how he got him and electrocuted him and he was talking shit and he was busted. I was like, that, for me, it's a favorite because it changed the trajectory of, wow, not every black guy's going to die in this movie. You know what I mean? Like, yep. He's going to be. So I'll say, for the sake of history, Busta Rhymes. If I had to think of anyone else, you know, technically, because it was such a good character and he played it so well in Final Destination, Devon Sawa, when he, you know, all the way to the plane crash and stuff like that, but it was able to, he played that so well, knowing that, you know, you watch the premise, you know he's going to die at some point. And technically, I think we ended with them on the plane. And then, what was the other one? Here's one that might be, technically, it depends on how much you consider this a horror movie. But if you know, Jaws, and watching in the 1975 Jaws where Harper and Brody made it, and you know, even though it's funny how he killed the shark with the fucking luckiest shot in the world to hit but it was such a good way to do it. The boat sinks. They didn't just know, like, it was just the way they ended it and how they did it back in 1975 with, you know, animatronics and stuff like that. I would say those. So those are my three. So I gave you three answers, but those are my three.
Because listen, but Ash from Evil Dead, of course, is my favorite. I mean, that's he's the god MC of final guys. Like, he is the final guy. I mean,
he is the final guy in every level. Yeah.
And I do love Tommy Jarvis from the Friday the 13th movies. Tommy Jarvis.
Oh yeah. Oh,
he was in three of them. I love Tommy Jarvis. I mean,
that's a really.
But did you know this? So I can't think of the third movie off the top of my head because I'm on the spot. Did you know that LL Cool J has been in 3 horror movies and he survives all 3 horror movies? I know it was one with fucking sharks. I can't think of the name.
Deep Blue Sea.
Halloween H2O.
I blocked out Halloween H2O. Holy crap! Yeah, he did. And then didn't he get got?
Third one.
And what's the third one?
I can't think of the name of the third one. But I know it's on top of my head. But he is death proof in horror movies.
Oh yeah, he's so death proof. I wouldn't be surprised if someone said, "Oh, he put that in his contract, like he couldn't die." I mean, The Rock has done that. He can't lose fights in movies and stuff like that. Yeah, he can't lose fights. So, but yeah, he is. I didn't even think about it. You know what? We're gonna get off of this, and it's gonna hit you with that third movie.
Yes, I'm gonna hit me with the third one here. I can't think of it. I know that it's 3 movies, and I'm like, LL Cool J he breaks the boundaries for black guys dying in horror movies. This motherfucker does not die. I mean, 3 different fucking movies. I mean, not even connected. And this motherfucker survived. I just don't know why more men do not survive. Why there are not that many final guys? Because if you think about it,
I think, I mean, at least the old way of thinking, I think because it's more likely, it's chauvinistic in its own way, but I think back in the day, they thought if you leave a guy alive, he's more likely the expected survivor versus whatever this masked slasher killer is. Whereas back in the day, you wouldn't expect a woman to be the thing to stop him. Like, that's why Jamie Lee Curtis was so important, because you're like, oh, it's Jamie Lee Curtis. And then you look at like Happy Death Day, and you don't expect any of them to survive, but the girl is the focus. So I think that's why you don't see a lot of guys. Now, it's a little different. I still think it's the same, but it's not as prevalent of, we can't let this guy live this long, because then it's expected by the audience that this guy is going to go toe-to-toe with Jason. Whereas no one expects.
That's more realistic.
Yeah, it's realistic.
That a man is going to be. Listen, I said I'm going to get a whole fucking message from women, but isn't it more? Listen. We're talking about equality, right?
Yeah.
Women should be able to get killed just like men are, right? And a man should be able to survive just like a woman should be able to survive. But isn't it more realistic that a man? Jeez, I feel bad in saying this. Is it more realistic that a man is going to survive fighting Michael Myers or Art the Clown or any of this than a woman is?
And that's what I'm saying. Like, I think that's the reason. I think for me, that's the reason why you watch that and it was like, no, he's got to get out, because more than likely he's going to own himself. At least he might. I mean, he's not going to go out like Old Boy on the Roof and Jason Takes Manhattan. But you saw him. He fought to a standstill, and it was like, you know what, take your best shot, and he took his head off. But you do that because somebody who's watching is going to be like, of course that guy's going to survive. So now it's like, let's. It's not even a plot twist anymore. It's an expected thing. If there's a guy who goes like, it's like, well, there goes. I don't know how you're going to die, but you're going to die. And like, you can look at the what do you call it, the Ty West movies with what's the new one he's going out with?
X and Pearl.
X, yeah. It's like with Mia Goth, like you see, like, and at the end, final girl, and then she dies, and final girl. Now they're doing Maxine, which is the third one, final girl, and that's now it's become a regular thing to the point where it's almost a trope. It's basically a trope now. So now somebody switch it up and go, okay, well, the girl dies in this one, or at least the guy survives with it. So it's definitely switched, and now if someone presents something new, like a guy surviving and being the way of doing so, I promise you, like, oh wow, that's an amazing idea. I'm like, bro.
I'm just saying, Kale. I'm just saying. Listen, I'm about to get some shit for this. There's no way old ass Jamie Lee Curtis was gonna beat up Michael Myers, but 6 fucking big strong firefighters couldn't together in a like. There's no way. Oh my god, I'm about to get some shit for this. There's no way that all these big strong men could not beat Art the Clown and Terrifier 2, but this chick who's a teenager with a sword some kind of way is able to beat him. Like,
yeah, exactly. And you gotta, and I always, you suspend disbelief, but at the same time, I'm like, come on, like the fire scene in Halloween, I'm like, bro, he went through them like they weren't even there, and it was crazy. And then he toe to toe, and like, booby traps be damned, bro. I don't even understand how that fight lasted as long as it did. You know what I mean? Like, but yeah, it's now it's a trope. The final, I mean, they've made reality shows after the final girl. Like, the final girl is and honestly, if someone presents it in a different way, it's going to be like, wow, that's crazy. I never thought of that, bro. That's just making sense. I get it. It's like I'm 6'11". My one of my cousins is 5'2". If somebody busts through this window right now and it's me, you're gonna look at me and say I'm done? Like, you know what I mean? Like whoever's coming through the window, they might get me, but I'm taking them with me. But instead, I'm gonna get slashed immediately, and now it's a fight to the stairs. It's an interesting trope that is kind of permeated through all of horror, and I don't even know if anyone wants to take that risk of saying, well, the girl dies, so let's keep the guy alive. And I'm sure it's happened, but it's not made to be as big of a deal because it's an expected thing in a reality-based type of way.
Because I get the movie Us so much shit. I'm gonna tell you why I get that movie so much shit. It had potential to be a good movie, by the way, but I give it so much shit because, like, look, Lupita, I can't even think of her character's name. Red, wasn't it? Or something like that. But
yeah,
she was married to that big fucking motherfucker from Black Panther. That
yeah,
big
yeah.
old motherfucker, like 6'11", 7 foot, built like a tank. Big old motherfucker, right? And this motherfucker is complaining about his knee the whole entire fucking movie. And do you remember when she was about to go into that fucking sewer, the fight, God knows whatever? He looks at her, his big old black ass looks at her and says, well, I'm gonna stay here with the kids. I'm gonna stay here in this ambulance with the fucking kids.
I think
and
that was
you
the
go
moment.
and
That was the moment for me. I sat there and I was like, while I liked the movie for the most part, I think at that moment I caught myself saying, okay, there's a lot of plot devices you could have done to take him out early. You know what I mean? Like he could have lost his leg, whatever. He could have, but that for me was like, okay, you tried too hard to make that. I get it. You wanted this to be a one-on-one with Lupita and her double, but you took him out because he said, "I'll stay with the kids. My knee hurts." Like there.
But it's once again with black horror, black man is coward and weak, and black woman has to protect.
Yeah, so it's
weird. It's a weird dynamic.
There was a weird dynamic that honestly, if you were going to take care of that, you could have taken care of that earlier in the movie. That would have made it, at least in my opinion, more sense, where you don't have to diminish what he does versus what she's going to do. You know what I mean? Instead of in that moment, he made the cowardly decision, which truthfully, I'm like, that don't make any sense. I don't think I'm pretty sure I'd be the first one.
There's no woman in this fucking world, especially a black woman that's on, and she is married to a 6'11", 7 foot fucking dude. Actually, he could be 5'4". Doesn't fucking matter. Where he is going to stay in the ambulance with the kids while she goes in and deals with whatever. There's no scenario. That's not real.
That does not track at all. Not even a little bit.
And that's my problem. Listen, I enjoy Jordan Peele movies and so forth, but that's my problem. He makes black men seem like they're stupid, weak, and crazy in this, and it drives me nuts.
And honestly, I probably didn't notice it. I mean, I noticed it, but I was like, I wonder if this is going to be a common thread. And then I'm watching the movies, and I'm like, I get it.
I know that in all of his movies, black women are powerful and strong and successful, and black men are weak, broken, cowards, and
Nope. I get what he was trying to Keke Palmer and get them all, and I get that, but it was like, man, this is a movie in the row you've done this. Like, this is weird. Like, I don't understand.
Every single movie,
like I'm not really sure why
black woman to. But he did a shit in Candyman. Their Candyman remake too. Oh my god, he did that in the Candyman remake, and it bothered me so much. I'm like, oh my god, this guy is a struggling artist. His wife is supporting him, and she is saving him from Candyman. He's weak. He's a coward. I'm like, why is this the narrative in every fucking black horror movie?
Yeah, and I promise you, I didn't notice that until probably right after Candyman. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I would love to pick his brain about it. I don't know if I'll ever get a chance to do so, but I would love to pick his brain about it. Like, just be like, where is this coming from? Like, and the problem is you ask those questions, people get combative, and they don't want.
I would never ask him that question. I would never ask him that question. By the way.
Yeah.
I would never ask him that question.
But yeah, people get super combative. Yeah, it's like, nope, okay, never mind. Sorry, I asked. Just for my own understanding, but that's what people. It is what it is at that point.
Because I get, like, I think he's mixed. I think his mother's white, and he's married to a white, which is nothing wrong. But I don't get where this whole love for the whole powerful black woman thing comes from. Where I don't think he's had black women. I don't fucking know. But like, to diminish black men, it makes no sense. I'm like, well, what is that about?
Yeah, and again, you can't even ask that question. It's a very. I'm sure you can't. You gotta. You have to infer, which is unfortunate. But I'd love to be able to ask a question and someone understands that I'm trying to understand, and in that way,
I love that.
I'll be able to go, okay, now I get it. But you questions anyone's art in any which way, shape, or form, people most people get very, very weird about how they're, but you want people to watch a movie and understand it. So I'm trying to understand it. And then maybe I'm an asshole and don't understand. And then if you're showing me, now I understand. But no one wants to explain. You either get it or
you don't get
something.
It. Because anytime I say anything about his movies, and people say, "Oh, well, you just don't understand the artistic intelligence of his movies."
Well, see, and that's the thing that automatically becomes an attack on your ability to understand things, and that's, I blame the internet for that, because everyone thinks they're an expert and put into a position where they have to actually use the expertise. So, like, I'm a screenwriter. Screenwriting is subjective. Art is subjective. There are no definitives. Everyone's allowed an opinion and what they do and how they do it. But people think their opinions are capital O opinions. And so you can't, if you question it, it's like you're not even, you don't have the blah, blah, blah intelligence. Like, whoa, why are we coming at my intelligence? I'm asking a question so I can understand add to my intelligence. But people don't want to do that. And it's very, very, it's interesting. Especially like I know the business side of the film industry. And then from the business side, I know the business of the art that I want to do. But like, if you question an artist at any point in time that doesn't understand that business side, they automatically attack your ability to understand what they're doing. Like, I'm like, hey, you want to make this? Okay, cool. Well, all right, so take this and this. Oh, well, why are you asking all these questions? Because if you want to make this is how this is going to get made, So it's a very interesting world we live in, where, you can't question in order to understand, then people don't question, but then you got a whole bunch of ignorant people who assume, and then they're usually wrong. So it's especially artists, especially in the industry, it's very interesting.
And also too, well, I'm bringing up the blackening. This is something else that bothered me about that movie. Why is the one educated black guy who's not stereotypical, who's not a gangbanger, this and that, why was he the fucking loser? Why was he the killer? Why?
That's a really good. I don't know. And technically they could. There's so many layers to that story. I don't even know if he was of use in that story. To be that way. So, I mean, I get, everyone has their script laid out and why. But I don't know that. I don't even think it was of use for him to have been that way. No. But again, like I said, I would love to sit down and ask him and talk and be like, hey, explain this to me so I can feel less stupid.
Exactly. Like, who was your audience for this?
Yeah. Who were you? What were you going for? Like, who were you approaching with this? And maybe he'd surprise us and say, oh, let me explain this. Or he'd be like, if you don't get it, you don't get it. I'm like, okay. I paid my
people say that.
You don't get it, you don't get it. I'm like, wow, okay. I apologize for wanting them to learn a little bit.
And listen, and I love Get Out, and I love Jordan Peele as a filmmaker. I do. But at the same time, I don't get his movies. I don't. And then when I say that, people automatically attack me and say, well, you're not intelligent enough because you got to be intelligent to watch his movies.
I will say that his movies, for what he is, and most don't realize, people who do comedy, there's a very thin line between the darkness that makes them who they are and the funny. And that line is hard to understand. I can tell you right now, I understand what he's doing, but I can tell you right now that you're not supposed to understand some of the stuff that he does. Like, you're watching it and it's interesting, but you're like, wow, where are you pulling this from? Like, where's this idea coming from? And where is it based out of? And truthfully, as much as I understand that line from someone who went from doing laugh out loud comedy to some dark, psychological level shit, that line is super thin, and they harness that line. And even if you ask them, the answer they give you, you're gonna be like, nope, that wasn't what I expected. Whoa, that's a bit too much, and that's crazy. But I would like. I know he's done Q&As. I promise you, if I could sit the Q&A, I'd raise my hand like 8 times. All right, I got like 8 questions for your last 4 movies that I need to know.
I think he would tell security, he'd be like,
he's like,
get that motherfucker out of here. Get that motherfucker out of here. He's asking me questions I don't want to answer. Get him the fuck out of here. All right, KL, where can everyone find you, my friend?
Instagram, codename_Leon on Instagram and Twitter. My website, which is also my production company, kevinlmartin.com. That has basically everything on it. But yeah, Instagram and Twitter are codename_Leon.
Sweet, man. Listen, man, it was been a pleasure having you on, man. This was fun, man.
Thank you so much for having me. And, I really enjoy, I watched the show and I've had some friends that have been on the show. You're doing a great job, and keep pushing and keep gaining these subscribers and kicking ass. You're doing really good. This was a fun conversation for me.
I appreciate it, boy. Listen, I have a good time. Listen, you're more than welcome to come on anytime, man. This was so
I appreciate that.
Listen, everyone, keep an eye out for You Should Smile More coming out soon. All right, everyone. Well, thank you for coming to the Horror Room. I'm Travis Bruce. I'll see you guys next time. Take care. Boom. That was good, man.
Thank you so much. And like I said, anytime you need, I'll happily hop on and talk your ear off. This was a lot of fun.
It was so much fun, man. So much fun. I listen. I said a thing about Black now. I was like, oh shit. I hope he's not. I hope he's not a fan of this movie. And then which would have been fun too.
As you get to know me and talk to you, you'll realize that we're probably not too dissimilar in those regards. Oh, I mean, too. They're looking for me like.